Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, "Someone Threw My Baby's Laundry Down the Hall." This happened a few years ago. I had just settled into a new apartment with my, now ex-husband, and our infant son. We lived on the second floor of a 3-story building. There was a laundry room on the 3rd floor, but it only had one washer and dryer for the whole building, maybe 20 apartments. I went up there a couple of times to do a quick load, but it was always occupied, so I gave up trying. Instead, we would go to the laundromat down the street as needed and get it all done at once. So we had been living there about 2 months, and it is New Year's Eve and there is a big snowstorm raging outside. We were running low on pajamas for the baby and neither one of us wanted to trek out. I decided to try again upstairs. Lucky me, it was empty. Washer and dryer were both free. I started the wash and went back down to my apartment for a half hour. I promise you, it was no longer than that. Barely finished an episode of a Friends rerun, and then I went upstairs to see where we were at in the wash cycle. Lo and behold, as soon as I got upstairs, I saw my baby's onesies and little blankets scattered down the hallway outside the laundry room. I thought at first maybe someone stole some items and left the rest, but it was actually all there. All wet and soapy and seemingly stepped on. I was kind of scared at that point, so I gathered it all up and was just gonna go back downstairs, but then I hear the washer is running. The machine was at the spin stage. I open it up and it was stuffed. It was a huge load of clothes. I quickly figured it out. Very shortly after I started the machine, someone took our stuff out to do their own on my dime. And if that was not enough of an a-hole move, they threw it all out the room and seemingly kicked it down the hallway. My initial fear of the situation turned into absolute uncontrollable rage. The clothes inside the machine were nice. Someone could certainly afford nice things, but apparently could not afford the $1.50 washing fee. Or didn't have quarters. Lots of nice Victoria's Secret bras and underwear too. There is a window in that room that faces the alley where many pigeons like to gather and take dumps. If you look down, you would see dumpsters and the occasional car driving by, turning the fresh falling snow into a yucky black street slush. I took all the clothes out of the machine one by one. I flicked every piece out of the window. Some of the intimates got stuck on little ledges and dangled like haphazardly hung ornaments. I then ran back to my apartment and just kind of sat around. I had mixed feelings. Did I go too far? Nope. It was during that cooling off period that I saw that there was even more concentrated damage to my baby's stuff than I initially realized. Family friend had sewn him a little blanket and a little patch was ripped right off. Who the F takes their issues out on a baby's possessions? Any semblance of guilt I had was completely gone. It took over 2 hours, but I finally heard the shrill screams. Loud enough to know what it was, but muffled by the walls and distance. I wish I could have seen her face. Happy New Year's. And you know, Ripe Stars, speaking of Friends reruns and series in general, what kind of TV shows or movies are you watching at the moment? I gotta say, lately I'm not watching that many series anymore, but I'm kind of trying to get back into The Walking Dead. However, it is so difficult to get back into that series because I kind of forgot where I left off. Pretty much the last 1 or 2 seasons all look pretty similar, and I just cannot figure out where I stopped. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you are watching at the moment. And the next one is titled, "Almost Run Over My Cat and Piss on My Stoop. Get Wrecked." Wife and I were sitting on our stoop and hanging with the kitten outside after a long day at work. 8 p.m. Kitty is playing in the snow nearby at the edge of our driveway, which connects to the road. Out of nowhere, a Ford pickup speeds by and swerves into our driveway, narrowly missing a very scared kitty. Skinny younger guy jumps out, our neighbor by the way, out of the driver's side and urgently walks towards the stoop, his back to the road, and starts to fiddle with his zipper. No way, man. He has not seen us sitting there. It is dark out, so I shout, hoping he won't whip it out right there and piss at us. He is a friend of our other neighbor who are also pretty trashy. Me, hey man, who the F are you? You need to slow the F down. A-hole, oh hey. He continues to unzip and his pathetic wang is spurting dribbles of urine in our direction. I notice he is swaying awkwardly, probably drunk I think. Me, look dude, kids live here. You cannot just expose yourself and now get out before I call the cops. A-hole, good, call them, I don't care. Wife, fine, I don't have anything better to do at the moment. Wife dials the non-emergency number to the station less than 100 yards down the road and puts it on speaker so A-hole can hear we are not bluffing. Somehow, after a virtual eternity, the dude is finally wrapping up his whiz and holsters his wizard finger. On phone, wife tells police neighbor spat into our driveway, barely missed out kitten and is exposing himself while probably drunk. A-hole, good, tell them my plate number is… Wrong plate number. He slurs and stands there defiantly with belt open and hanging limp. I walk a few steps so I can see his real plate number and read it out loud to my wife. At this point the guy seems to slowly realize this is really happening and with his pants unbuckled he waddles quickly back to the driver's side and peels off down the road, swerving in the snow. My wife is still speaking to the police operator when badass police charger absolutely roars by in what we assume is in response to our call. She ends the call and we resume our night and kinda chuckle it off while reassuring little kitten. The next day we call back to see if anything came of it in the end. Turns out they got him just down the road, DUI, underage possession of alcohol, indecent exposure in a school zone, reckless driving. We caught all the audio on our front door camera and forwarded it to the officer in charge. They say it may help to tackle more charges on and will strengthen others. Good luck A-hole with no license, finds out the ass and being a registered sex offender for life. The moral is, if someone wants you to move along, you better do it. Also, don't drive drunk, people. And guys, I would assume that guy really learned his lesson after that night, or at least I would hope so. Either way, if you have watched until here and enjoyed the stories about crazy neighbors and revenge in general, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support me. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled Refuse to be a decent human, lose your house. It is 2011, my boyfriend and I decided to rent a house with our best friends, an engaged couple with 2 kids. I am changing names here. I am Kylie, my boyfriend is Jim, and our couple friends are Brad and Angelina. Jim, Brad and myself are active duty military. After over a month of searching, we found a really cute house, 1,850 square feet, nice yard, great neighbors, only $1,350 per month. Hardwood except for 1 room, 7 minutes from our base. The landlord is in a different state but tells us she pays one of the neighbors to manage the keys for her. It is a military town and that is not uncommon. We all met up with him, toured the house, decided to sign the lease. We moved in sometime in August. We liked the house but there were crickets coming into one of the bedrooms through a crack in the windowsill. The landlord didn't want to fix it and said to caulk it. It worked no problem. We noticed the carpet in the living room was a little dingy and asked her if she would mind paying someone to clean it since we moved in that way. We even made a note of it and took pictures when we moved in. She said no, I bought my own cleaner and the carpet lightened a few shades. In October, we went to cut the heat on and it didn't work, so we realized the oil tank was empty. Part of the lease states when we move out, we needed to leave a full tank of oil, which is not really a problem as long as we start with a full tank and use all the oil in it. Call the landlord and ask her to have the oil company come fill the tank, which it is 2011, so it's going to cost $1,200 to do. She says no, we told her fine, we wouldn't be leaving a full tank when the lease was over though. She got mad and said we had to because it was a clause in our lease. We had the oil company provide statements to say the last time it was filled was that prior January and it was empty when they came to fill our tank that month. We filled the tank but the heat still didn't work. It's been 2 weeks and it's really getting cold. We asked the landlord to get a repairman out to the house. Brad and Angelina have 2 small kids that need to stay warm. My landlord took another week to fix the heat and the people that did it were questionable. It worked for a month but then quit. We called in our own repairman to come handle it since the last ones creeped me out and he noticed some major issues with the chimney that needed attention right away. Like, it was unsafe to run the heat at all, the damn thing was about to collapse. We let her know, emailed scans of the paperwork from our nice Honeywell tech and 2 quotes from contractors to get the work done. It is going to be $3,000 to $3,500-ish. It is an emergency repair at the point it is December and we are really cold. We were using space heaters, the kids have chest colds and Angelina is ready to fly into our landlord's state to handle her physically. I mailed all of that information to her, Angelina's bodily threats omitted, with a signature confirmation and a letter stating the issue. A few days pass and nothing from our witch landlord. I got onto Google and read the Landlord-Tenant Act and local landlord court cases just to see if I had a leg to stand on. I also spoke to my JAG, whose brother happened to be a real estate lawyer who was also friends with my next door neighbor. The keyholder dude who, surprise, never got paid to watch the house and also decided to come over for dinner with all of us at their place. He gave me some really good info. The next morning I called our landlord and told her, look, you get this repair done or I will condemn the house and not pay a dime of rent until it is done. She says she doesn't believe me. I overnighted a certified letter to her explaining the issue and requesting the repair be started within 5 business days since it was an emergency and I had already reported it a week prior. 5 days go by, nothing. At this point I am ready to walk out on the lease but don't have quite enough legal issues to back that up, so Jim and I requested 20 days of vacation from the military. I drafted a letter to landlord telling her she had 10 days to get the repair done or we would terminate the lease, and we would not be paying rent while the heat was in disrepair. I cited the previous letter and included her signature confirmation for it also. 4 days before we go on vacation, I overnighted and signature confirmed the letter. 2 days before we are set to go on vacation, I called a city building inspector, set an appointment, he came and condemned the house. It took him less than 15 minutes to decide. Brad and Angelina took off to Angelina's mom's house and Jim and I headed out to spend a few weeks in warm sunny Florida with his Cuban family. The food. We prorated rent for every day the house was condemned. I called the building inspector every few days to see if the work was done. He also demanded that my landlord do a few minor electrical repairs. Several days have gone by. I spent half that month's rent on good food, liquor and Disney World tickets. On the 6th day in Florida, the landlord calls me threatening eviction. I told her to please take me to court because I was ready to embarrass her. I cited the Landlord-Tenant Act, told her I was going to sue for travel costs to Florida, hotel costs, and at that point she was already looking at $850 and it was just going to get more costly. Long shot, but I was mad. I also said we were prepared to just walk out if it wasn't done by the time the certified letter stated it should be. Again, I was not kidding. I had already reserved a U-Haul. Oh, and she should be reimbursing me for that $1,100 in oil I hadn't been able to burn. She said fine and finally replaced the chimney 2 weeks after the place was condemned. My neighbor told me she had to borrow money from her family to get it done. Not my problem. She also told me I was a horrible person who was torturing her and her 5-year-old who were victims of domestic violence. She also told me we were only slightly better than the last tenants who she thought were black by how terrible the house looked when they left. Okay, wow, a slamlord and a racist. I should play the lottery. I'm sorry for your situation, but your husband has been a douchebag to you since you got together. How do I know? Turns out one of my supervisors is friends with her old supervisor and he and other members of her chain of command had responded to fights where her and her husband hit each other. Apparently the husband is a drunk too. They tried to get her to leave him, but she is just as bad. She busted out his windshield one time and burned all his stuff another. Turns out she got a general administration discharge. She seemed so nice and sweet when we were getting ready to sign that lease. I still cannot believe what a bucket of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs she turned out to be. Whatever, we came home to a house with functioning heat. Brad and Angelina decided not to move back in, but that was all cool with Jim and me. We notarized an agreement between us and told them we totally understood and would take over the rent. Missed them after they left though. Later on in March, a realtor knocked on my door and said he wanted to show the house to a couple. I said, "You have the wrong place, buddy. I'm renting this right now." He's like, "No, the owner wants a short sale, hopefully by July." I explained I had no notice and was a little confused, but it was okay. He was very uncomfortable and unhappy to have walked into a situation where a tenant didn't even know he was coming. I told him it was totally fine and went on to divulge some details about this new client. He was pretty appalled. He leveled with me. It is a cute house, but really only worth 90k due to the market crash. It had last sold for 124k according to Zuela. She's asking for 120k and on the verge of foreclosure. Seriously? I let the couple and realtor in the next day, didn't worry about it after that. He came to take detailed pictures so he wouldn't have to bother me with flaky potential buyers. He was so nice, I let him help me find a new house to rent when my lease was up. We are still friends on Facebook. Then in July, the realtor called me and asked if he could show the house to a client. Absolutely, I cleaned and made sure I looked nice for her visit, and when they got to my house I noticed the lady was black. And she wanted to rent. I said, "Ma'am, call me later today and don't tell anyone." She did. I told her what my landlord said about how she couldn't believe her past tenants were white because they left the house trashed when they left. I said, "I don't think this is a good house for you. I know a great guy who is renting out his beachside condo for the next year while he goes out to Africa. Why don't you call him?" I text his listing to her, she calls him and ends up renting his house. None of that is really revenge. Before we moved out, Jim and I cleaned the house. We left the carpet sparkling clean, had professionals come in and do it, paid a gardener to come in and make the yard spiffy, patched up some small nail holes and even painted some window trim that was chipped when we moved in. We basically left it better than we found it. We had already repainted 3 bedrooms in flattering colors when we first moved in. That was approved by the landlord, no problem of course. We took pictures before and after we moved in. A month goes by, we are all settled in our new condo and she didn't give us a dime back in frickin' deposit. $2,400 down the damn drain, plus the cost of little repairs we made out of pocket so we couldn't have to deal with her crazy ass. I was angry. I began organizing to go to court and then suddenly Jim is told he is deploying soon. The F. A week goes by and also I am pregnant. Which we were casually, not trying, but trying to do. We were happy about that part, but I was puking every day, twice a day and emotional. Then Angelina calls me and guess who is on Craigslist slinging her crap hole slum? My landlord. I lost it. I got on the same forum her ad was on and posted about the house, every single problem we had, every phone call, every snotty email, how many weeks we went without heat, the crickets, landlord's messed up relationship with her off and on again husband, the oil tank and the racist comments. I never said don't rent or buy, just shared my experience as a tenant. I didn't name any names, but I did link her ad. Received 7 emails thanking me, stating landlord seemed really nice on the phone, but they would be dodging that bullet. The house foreclosed a few months later. And I gotta say guys, up until the last minute, that was a surprising turn and a very satisfying revenge story. And Ripe stars, unfortunately we have already reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. However, if you cannot wait for more Ripe content, then I suggest you head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where you can find more exclusive Reddit content read by me. Patreon subscriptions start at just $1 per month, and for $1 your name will show up at the end of each of my new videos. However, if you are willing to spend $3 per month, you will get access to more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos, mostly just no mother-in-law stories. However, please understand, I don't want to pressure anyone into spending money, because I am already incredibly grateful that you watch my videos every single day. Thank you so much for your daily support, it really means the world to me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for the next video.